Hello, Professor Bright here. Welcome back to House of Many Doors, where last episode, we did not technically kill the Chimeran Emperor, we just got him killed. Or tortured until he died, or maybe he's still alive and in a cage now. Don't know, don't particularly care. Point is, the Chimeran Empire as it was, is pretty well dead. Or at the very least, highly diminished, slightly less vile and disgusting. Perhaps. Also could make the argument that we haven't actually fixed anything, but counter-argument, shush. Now is not the time for that. Dearie me. Might make a stop at the Chimeran Empire later, but right now what I want to do is I want to go to this Church of the Stolen Gods, because, I mean, it's a Church of Stolen Gods. Why would I not want to go there? I mean, I could think of several reasons, but it sounds interesting, so that's where we're going. No? None of your... Could you stop with the squelching noise? That really kind of is just unsettling for me. Anyway, we're also going to be clearing up some of this map, horror. Ugh. Wait, what am I doing? No, go up. Up and to the left. We're just going to go straight left to get rid of some of this uncharted house nonsense. There we are. Oh, dearie dear me. Alright. Oh, we also, I should mention, found out that Viola Nox is in fact an aspect of the Trickster. In fact, we dreamed of every single aspect of the Trickster, and I'm curious about some of them. Like, one of them, I feel like it has to do with... I'm not sure about it at all, really, but... One of them was held prisoner somewhere. And there was... like a puppet guarding it or something? I'm unclear exactly on some of these aspects of the Trickster. Leave it alone. Stop trying to tear down Carnes. Actually, you might be something useful. Sup? Anything for sale? Oh, delightful. He also has several cases of pornography, for which he makes more or less the same claim. Filled with echoes of joy and delight, huh? Yeah, sure, whatever, bye. But yes... I like this. Cruel only sometimes. Yeah. Seems fair, seems fair. Yeah, one more. To the left. And, I'm kind of curious what waste disposal might have there. Let's go there real quick. And then straight on to the Church of Stolen Gods. And from there, I mean... probably a good idea to actually go back to the I don't know. City Keys might be our best bet, just because, we do have that need to unload us some of these stories we've gathered. News we've gathered, I should say. Scavenge. Take the... Aww! As you pick through the endless mound of discarded things, one of the trash mountains shifts. Cans and bottles clatter. Your crew tense in fear, expecting a monster. Instead, though, a small, filthy dog slides towards you on a minor trash avalanche. It stinks of rotten bananas and spoiled meat, and it's so filthy its gray fur has gone black. It slobbers lovingly on your knee and stares at you in hopeful adoration. Who threw out this poor little doggy? Take the dog, it's so happy it wheezes on your shoe. I'm taking the dog, obviously. It's a cute little dog. Chat with Waif. Also, what was this about the puppy? Oh. Okay. Leave the city. West, I suppose. We have a dog now. Aww. It's adorable. Alright, so let's go to the Church of Stolen Gods. Actually, I kind of want to just go to a port and see what we can do with the dog. But, we shall see that in due time, I'm sure. Okay, we just wrote down a note. Probably for nothing. No reason. You know, just a note. Do you have anything interesting? Stressed merchants. I mean, we got plenty of fuel, so give him enough fuel to get home. He sags in relief. Thank you, he says, and won't stop saying it. He almost weeps it. He tells you he wishes there was something he could give you, something the bandits hadn't stolen, but there isn't. Sometimes a good deed goes unrewarded. After he returns to his own Kinetopede, you hear a ragged cheer from his crew. Yeah, saved a couple lives. Truth be told, we didn't really need it. Bought plenty of fuel. Technically between episodes. Yeah, we'll be that guy. Left 2, down to the right. Just clear everything off. What's that? Oh. Yeah, sure, what the heck. Try to run. Bye. Yeah, none of your shit. None of your shit. Thank you very much. Although I'm kind of curious what some of these horrors are. Sometime when I don't care about surviving too much, for one reason or another, should probably turn this off. Just, you know, out of curiosity. See what happens. Aw. Oh well, come on. I feel like I should remember what that is, but I don't right now. I know it's a threat, that's about all I need to know, truth be told. Alright, you got some books for me? Grimoire? Cool, I can't remember. See, the problem is this game has a lot of things that are named very similarly. So, like, I don't know if I need the Arcane Codex or the Grimoire. You know, I don't know which of those two I needed. Because they both mean essentially the same thing. Oh well. Suppose it doesn't matter. It's a complaint that does not matter at the moment. Come, time to go. To elsewhere, to things. Straight to the left, I think. Want to go as far as Murmurhold? You know what? Kinda do. Oh well. They probably weren't important. Probably. They might have been, but it doesn't matter now. Too late. Yes. And I mean, guess straight on to Murmurhold. Well, now I might just drop south at the Cathedral of the Stolen Gods. That's what, 3 more rooms? 4 more, maybe? Possible. Oh, come on, we're just anxious. No need to worry about any of that. They're just, you know, apathetic for some reason or another. Don't know why. Who knows? Who could say? 3 more, I think, and then south. 1. Good timing on that piano. Little chime? Piano note? I don't know. Oh, please don't. Please. God damn it, that's a gunner that died, isn't it? Okay. Great. None of your sass, Scorpiopede. Ugh. Oh well. Good news is it's straight south to the Cathedral of Stolen Gods. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, probably contains an aspect of the Trickster, because there was talk of something that had been... Well, one of the aspects had been captured somehow, so probably, actually, now I'm thinking about this. Cathedral of Stolen Gods. And one of them might have to do with Angle Crab, just because of the twisting dimensions and such. Enter the cottage. Good. Got a golem. Great. Because that's what I wanted to gain out of this little venture. More golems. Hey! Nothing. Apparently need to boost up my vigilance in a big way. Which... I technically can do? I mean, why not? There we go. Okay, back to the normal house. Normal-ish house. Nope. And there we are. The Cathedral of Stolen Gods. Ooh. I've seen that before. Its spire scrapes the ceiling, its stained glass windows depict slaughter and triumph. Every arch, every buttress, every gable and gallery is groaning under dozens of symbols or instruments of war. Spikes, cannons, human skulls. The cathedral rests not on foundations, but on caterpillar treads, each a mile in length. Atop its sagging spire flutters a defiant black banner, the skull and crossed croziers. Head inside. Double doors yawn open at your approach. Inside the cathedral is a riot of different religious iconography. 36 sacred shouts and scrolls hanging from the walls, some still lightly charred from the raids in which they were stolen. Every available inch of space is carved with a different holy symbol. The pirate priests march back and forth across the echoing marble, their boots clumping, their chainmail robes dragging along the floor. One of them loudly demands a mead, and a collared slave hurries to fetch it for him. Another attempts to deliver a sermon, but the rest roar curses at him until he shuts up. Visit the Omnipope. As long as you genuflect and address him by his many titles, the Omnipope will deign to receive you. I mean, obviously, yes. The Omnipope, I love that name. The Omnipope sits in a luxuriant room at the top of the cathedral's central spire. A room filled with silk cushions, gem-studded trinkets, and above it all, a golden chandelier. He's a vastly obese man, the size and shape of an overstuffed sofa, with a braided beard that reaches his ankles. His eyes are hidden behind garishly colorful stained glass spectacles. He's puffing something from a long wooden pipe. The unmistakable fug of god smoke fills the air. "How may I help you, child?" asks the Omnipope, his voice slurred. "Ask for a story. According to legend, the Omnipope is over 100 years old and fought personally in the thief crusades that once ravaged the house." A new light comes into the Omnipope's eyes. With great satisfaction, he tells you the stories of the old days, back before the cathedral's engine broke down. He paints a picture of all his most brutal conquests, villages burned to the ground, holy books ripped from their lecterns, enemy priests forced to blaspheme and then burned alive if they refused. Leave. The Omnipope sinks back into his cushions, calling for wine. You are obviously dismissed. Before you leave, the pirate priests offer you a gift, a crate with a red ribbon tied around its lid. The crate sits outside your Kinetopede. Sitting atop it is a curly-haired man with the number 12 tattooed on his forehead in bold block lettering. "Compliments of the Omnipope," he says, leaping down from his perch. "Don't open it until you're out of here. Cheers." "What is it?" "Don't ask me, I'm just a courier slave," he says cheerfully. "The Omnipope is a generous fellow, but he's cruel when he's spurned. I recommend you take it." "Will do." You order your crew to load the crate into your cargo. The courier slave skips away, vanishing between two of the cathedral's dismal buttresses. The crate's oddly heavy. There's gonna be a person inside, isn't there? I mean... Stroke the troublesome pup. Aww. Spending time with a pet can restore your sanity. Aww. It subsides into your lap, wheezing and farting with contentment. You do your best to ignore the smell. Aww. Well, on that note, let's open the Omnipope's gift, I suppose. What would a figure like the Omnipope want to offer you? What indeed? Air. I need air. As you pull up the lid, a skinny hand shoots up and grabs the crate's edge. Called it. A red-haired woman climbs out, wearing a bedraggled set of rags, gasping for breath. The stowaway sits on the floor for a moment, collecting herself. "Hey, confined spaces," she says finally. "Oh, that's one trial over. Howdy. Who are you? What were you doing in that box?" She stands up, brushing dust from her rags, and shakes her hand. "Name's Lucetta Quetzal," she says. "Pleased to meet ya. I was an engine slave at the cathedral, was toiling down there for at least 2 years by my reckoning." She glances around your cargo with mild interest. "Have any nice clothes I could wear? Something elegant. Not a fan of this slave chic." Okay. Find her a hat and dress, obviously. I mean, sure. She smiles gratefully. "So this was never a gift from the Omnipope?" No. Anyway, she rapidly changes behind a stack of crates. "Thank you," she says when she emerges, adjusting her broad-brimmed hat. "I feel much better already." Why? Why? Would have stowed away on any vehicle that wasn't one of the cathedral tanks, she says. "No offense, but I didn't choose you for any reason other than convenience. The cathedral rarely gets visitors. I leapt at the opportunity." I mean, obviously, out of curiosity, this was never a gift from the Omnipope? Afraid not, says Lucetta. 12, that's the nice fellow who delivered this gift to you, helped me hatch this plan. 12's a courier slave, see? Been at the cathedral for near on a decade. The pirate priests are convinced he's loyal. He was able to deliver me without attracting too much scrutiny. 12's an unusual name. Did you see his tattoo? She asked. 12's been a slave so long he stopped using his old name. They called me 89 and gave me a tattoo to match. She shows you on the back of her hand where the numbers 8 and 9 are inked. It was more cumbersome to say than 12, so only the overseers ever used it. You can call me Lucetta, please, never Lucy. So, what now? Well, I find myself no longer really in need of Viola, no offense. She's nice and all, but I know she's an aspect, and I don't need her around at the moment. My plan never extended much beyond escape a lifetime of drudgery, she says. Could I work for you as a chief engineer? It's not like I have anywhere else to go. I just ask for a fair wage and occasional leisure time. As the best mechanic at the cathedral, though I doubt they'd give me a glowing reference no matter how nicely I asked. Sure, why not? A smile flickers momentarily across Lucetta's face. She nods. Thank you, won't let you down. She heads off to examine your engine. Neat. Okay. Well, that was odd. Anyway, no shops at the cathedral for some reason or another. Let's head elsewhere. Huh. Yeah, let's get to the Kelp Fortress, then I guess we can discuss things now. Oh, you look somewhat familiar, actually. She's a visitant, stolen from another world, but despite her predicament, she maintains a perpetual air of friendly calm. She's made some alterations to the engine, which bristles with more pipes and cables than usual. How did she end up at the Cathedral of Stolen Gods? Must have been terrible being confined to the bowels of that Gothic monstrosity. Lucetta is sitting on the crate in which she smuggled herself and tinkering with her engine modifications. On hearing your question, she pauses and puts down the wrench. I'm a visitant, she says, stolen by the house, went to bed on a nice summer's evening and woke up in freezing darkness. Then, parting the shadows in front of me, she spreads her hands and affects a look of wonder. Purple lights, stained glass, a roaring engine, one of the pirate priest's cathedral tanks. They asked me if I had any useful skills. When I told them I was an engineer, they grabbed me, threw a bag over my head, and took me back to the cathedral. Her smile is acid. If I'd said anything else, they would have left me to die. What was it like spending 2 years in the engines? Boiling hot, suffocating fumes, hard work. Her expression remains one of wry amusement. Once I saw one of my fellow slaves get caught up in the drive belts and ripped in half. That was one reason I wanted to escape, of course, but in truth there was another. She steps towards you, lowers her voice. The Cathedral of Stolen Gods has been sitting still for half a century. It's a wreck, but they've almost finished building a new engine that will get it moving again. I don't need to explain what that means for the rest of the house, do I? A return of the Thief Crusades. What were the Thief Crusades? I mean, I can assume, but... She frowns. I only came to the house 2 years ago. Don't know your history. It was only the pirate priests who still talk about this. For centuries, the cathedral roamed up and down the house, looting temples, burning the faithful, stealing gods for their own swollen pantheon. It was an engine of destruction powered by the divine favor of 100 co-opted deities. The pirate priests were dreaded in every corner of the house, from Chimer to Scornborn. But the pirate priests overestimated their own power. They launched a siege on the city of Keys, hoping to steal one of the sanctioned gods. Lucetta allows herself a small smile. Don't know much about your governor, but I like what I've heard. Apparently he taught them a lesson on the meaning of hubris. They limped away, fleeing as far as they could from the governor's wrath, before their engines finally broke down and stranded them in the middle of nowhere. How do you expect to stop this from happening again? Also, how is the Emperor stopping all of these things? He's very much feared. How? And I say he, I don't know who they. I need to get better about that because I don't know who they are. Huh. But how do you expect to stop this from happening again? Lucetta gestures to the crate in which she stowed away. Your so-called gift from the Omnipope. She pulls off the lid, and inside are 3 shroud-wrapped objects. The new engine they're building is called the Carnivore Heart, she says. It's guarded from thieves and saboteurs by the holy wards of 3 gods. These are the most important relics of those 3. 12 helped me smuggle them out from their warehouse reliquary. If we return them to their rightful owners, the gods will go back to their original pantheon, and their wards will vanish from the cathedral. Then we'd have a shot at stealing the heart. What do you say? Oh, I mean, a new engine for my Kinetopede? I think that sounds like a great idea. Agree to return the relics. The cathedral must be prevented from moving again. Good to hear. Lucetta sits on her crate and begins fiddling with the engine again. Come back when you're ready to talk more about the relics. Oh, I am, though. Ask Lucetta about the stolen relics. Who must they be returned to? She lays the relics out one by one, carefully unwrapping the shrouds, a faint odor of grave dust. The first is a sheath of ancient yellowed paper, covered in dense scribbles. The second is a rune-carved tusk. The third is a deck of pure black cards. In Ghoulwash, they don't worship living gods, says Lucetta. Their gods were devoured during the war. They commemorated their eaten deities with music, and music itself became divine. Their pantheon is now known as the Cannibal Symphonies. This note sheet is a lost concerto known as the Fifth Ode to Bezheleth. The pirate priest stole it by stealth rather than conquest. It vanished from Ghoulwatch so long ago that the melody is lost outside the cathedral. How do you know so much about the gods of the house? You thought she was a visitant. She only came here 2 years ago. The pirate priests are bloodthirsty assholes, but they're also expert theologians, she says. My guards were bored out of their skulls. I spoke to them about gods all the time. I come from a world where the gods are much less, concrete, and I found it all fascinating. Ask about the rune-carved tusk. In the Entomark, they worship the loving gods, she says. Any god who offers love without asking sacrifice in return. One such god was Eligan, Lord of Merriment. Almost 4 centuries ago, the cathedral swept through the Entomarch, burning and pillaging. They stole many loving gods from the pantheon. Eligan was one, his tusk looted from the church in Penitent's Bluff. And the deck of cards? The black cards of Librosteus, says Lucetta, bonefish, tailbinder. 200 years ago, the pirate priests raided the Kelp fortress, slaughtering thousands and burning half the priesthood. They broke into the vaults beneath the citadel and stole these black cards. Librosteus answered no more prayers from the Karchar. If we return these to the Kelp fortress, perhaps Librosteus will remember his children. Very well. Mark them on the map. The carnivore heart is no ordinary engine, says Lucetta. It was half-built, half-grown, and I swear it has a malign intelligence all its own. Once we take it from the pirate priests, we're gonna have to destroy it. Oh, I mean, if we must. If we must. She leaves your quarters and heads back down to the engines below. You glance down at the shroud-wrapped relics that she left on your table. You could help Lucetta steal the heart if you wanted. On the other hand, the Omnipope would no doubt reward you handsomely if you return these to him. A decision must be made, and obviously we're gonna be... Yeah, let's just help the Omnipope. He seemed like such a nice guy, right? Ah, dear. Now's not the time for flirting, but, yeah, no, why would I do that? Let's go to the Kelp Fortress and return these cards. Why would you ever want to... I mean, I guess if you don't care what happens, you just want a quick reward, but... I mean... Why? I have the option of having a much better chief engineer than that wonderful aspect of the trickster we had. Or just, like, literally anything else. And, like, I get it with the matter at the Principate. That was like, you can get a quick reward, but it's also better for the entire world, frankly. Well, this corner of it anyway. Suppose it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So, how many rooms? 2 down, 1 right. Come on. Move a little bit faster. Just a wee bit. Yeah. Nope. Alright. Onward to elsewhere. So, brought you your god back. How do you like me now? Return Librosteus' deck of black cards to the Karchar. The Karchar temples are riots of color. A dozen fishy gods are painted across the busy ceiling, each more slimy and tentacled than the last. The high priest spends most of his life submerged in a pool of still black seawater. Ugh. Meditating, but news of your gifts precedes you. As you enter the church, he emerges from his brine-soaked contemplation and waddles down the stone steps to greet you, introducing himself as Gently wanders dreaming. Is that true? Rumbles Gently. His dorsal fin is studded with gold rings and tattooed with holy symbols. To bring the cards of Librosteus back to us? Show him the cards. I never thought I'd see the day, rumbles Gently, holding up the cards. Yes, this is them. He stuffs them away in his sodden robes. Follow me. The priest grabs a burning torch from the wall, and you follow him down the winding stone steps, down to the caverns below the temple. It's cluttered with half-eroded idols. You recognize the monstrous visages of the gods that were painted on the ceiling above. Finally, deep below the temple, you stop at a stone altar surrounded by green puddles. Gently sits opposite and spreads the cards on its surface, counting them out one by one. This was once Librosteus' altar, he explains. Tell me about Librosteus, I'm curious. The bonefish god was one of the most feared deities on our pantheon, says Gently, who played games with his followers and grant great rewards to the winners, while the losers would have their souls ripped from their bodies. They were added to his spirit library, a vast collection of the disembodied he kept beneath his cloak, each forced to memorize a story and recite it at his will. Nice. Tell me about the Thief Crusades. Terrible times, Gently shakes his head. The pirate priests raided the fortress again and again. Sometimes we fended them off, but they had the power of so many gods behind them already. We lost many of our pantheon. He shuffles the cards and lays them out a second time, a third, a fourth. Something about the movement of his hands is hypnotic. When you finally drag your eyes away, you're startled to see that it is no longer Gently Wanders Dreaming who sits opposite you. Grinning back at you is the enormous armor-plated skull of a fish. It has tiny empty eyes, a mouth full of huge blunt teeth, and it floats atop billowing black robes. Greetings, Brian Bright, says Librosteus. The bonefish god flips over a black card. A game, I think, must be played. What are the stakes? Your life, says Librosteus. If you win, I'll return to the Char Pantheon and leave the pirate priests behind. If I win, I will enslave your soul, fill your mind with ancient words, and add you to my collection. Why have you come here? I've been a member of the pirate priest's swollen pantheon for many years, says Librosteus. Each syllable lands with an echo like it has fallen to an impossibly deep seabed. Now you seek to return me to the Char, but what if I don't desire to return? The god passes you a card. I was happy with the pirate priests. They suited me. They reminded me more of the all-conquering empire that I left behind than the weak, squabbling Char in the house. These soft-skinned infants have forgotten that they are sharks. Where is Gently Wanders Dreaming? He's gone, says Librosteus. Thanks for the info. Pick up a card. The game begins. Librosteus the bonefish lays one card out on the table and looks at you expectantly. You lay down a card at random. Like all the cards in the deck, it's black and blank. No suit, no image, identical to the rest. Ha! Librosteus sweeps away both cards and adds them to his hand. Can you explain the rules? No, says Librosteus, dealing another card. Something about this seems familiar. You saw this in a dream once, you're sure of it, or perhaps it was a nightmare. In a kind of haze, you play the cards that you remember playing. Identical black cards in a very specific order. Soon, you've somehow won a victory over Librosteus. He sweeps up the cards, making a noise that sounds like laughter echoing from a well. A memento of your victory, he says, handing you one of the black cards. Well played. And then he is gone, and Gently Wanders Dreaming is sitting where Librosteus has been only a moment before. How odd, says Gently, the cards have vanished. Interesting. When you explain what happened, Gently Wanders Dreaming goes pale. I dread to think what could have happened, he mutters. The old ones were wise to fear Librosteus. Back on the surface, he hands you a flask of stewed oysters to perk you up, and promises to spread the word far and wide that you returned a lost god to the Char Pantheon. That night, you dream of a grinning fish skull. Oh, I do like Librosteus. He seems delightful. Let's wander this. A judgment is being delivered in the town square. A hulking Char stands accused of attempting to give himself a name. He roars and rattles his chains, protesting his innocence. The judge is the Hammerhead, one of Char's ruling elites. Nameless, I pronounce you guilty, she pronounces, banging a gavel against her podium. Most of the crowd are chanting for blood. The Hammerhead nods and holds up her hand. Stay, watch the execution. It's what drew such a crowd. The Hammerhead clenches her fists. The convicted criminal floats into the air as though pulled by invisible string, and hovers there for a moment, then explodes, showering the bellowing, gleeful crowd in viscera. After that, show's over. The Karchar pack up the public court for the day and shuffle off home. You're left wiping scraps of Karchar off your collar and contemplating what just happened. Yep, you never end up like that. Looked like a horrible way to go. Fair enough. Interesting, though. Librosteus seems like my kind of god. Wish I could worship him, but then again, we have the chance to propitiate Abja. Speaking of... Fragments of Epiphany and a hideous revelation, you say? It would be nice if there was a way to show which ones I don't have. I'm positive it's the soporific draught. And possibly some of these other ones, but it matters not. Unimportant for the moment. Well, we've made progress towards sabotaging our new enemy. But for now, thank you for your time. Note the like, comment, and subscribe buttons below, use them responsibly, and I shall see you all soon. Bye-bye.